From the Mercy One studio.
Making It Personal with Bishop William Joensen on Iowa Catholic Radio and iowacatholicradio.com.
Welcome to Making It Personal with Bishop Joensen. I'm Kelly Mesher-Collins with the Diocese of Des Moines. On today's show, we're talking about the Iowa Catholic Men's Conference, which is going to be held next Saturday, February 22nd. Our guest today is event coordinator and presenter Joe Stopulos. But before we get to today's interview, let's find out what's on the Bishop's mind.
One of the great blessings and I think pastoral opportunities for us in the Diocese of Des Moines is to be in the city, the nucleus for our state government and everything that's there. This past week was such a week where, along with the other three bishops of Iowa in the Iowa Catholic Conference, Tom Chapman, director, we had some time of the legislative breakfast on Tuesday, prefaced by my opportunity to lead the prayer before both houses of the legislature. So, you don't want to kind of get in your talking points there, but really just pray that our legislators realize their own sacred calling, as Vatican Council II speaks about the church in the world, the sacred calling, which is politics. And we hope great young men and women of virtue will be drawn to this and to really lift up the common good in a way. But we had some time with Governor Reynolds, who, we appreciate so many of the initiatives she's had, the restoration of franchise rights to convicted felons and other things who've been released from prison, and some of our own area legislators as well. So that was a time worthwhile. And then I guess as bishops, Bishop Nicholas, Archbishop Jacobs, and Bishop Zingala, just a chance for us to be with each other and to kind of, as we kind of all understand and live this life, and they've been a great support to me, so to have that happening also. Last night was a great opportunity, thanks to Justin White with the Office of Evangelization and Catechesis. He kind of focuses on young adults, and so we did the Theology on Tap experience, and that was great with some of our young people, married and single as well, but they're kind of looking at a theme that I'm the inaugural speaker. I don't know, hopefully people will want to come back after this, but kind of thinking about the theme of friendship and accompaniment. Pope Francis talks about how we are a church that accompanies each other, but this whole notion of friendship, and I'll bet Joe Stopulos is going to kind of give us some things on that as well. But I think the Christian tradition obviously draws inspiration from some of the great friendships that are among the saints and how we help each other realize that sacred calling. If we look at Jonathan and David in the Old Testament, Jonathan kind of took some heat from his father Saul on that, but was tenacious in standing up for David in that particular way. So other famous friendships of St. Jane de Chantal and Francis de Sales, de Chantal, Louise de Marillac and Vincent de Paul, and of course Margaret Mary Alacoque and St. Claude de Colombière. So these weren't romantic relationships, but friendships among men and women, and of course even among blood sisters. Pauline and St. Therese were great friends, even as they were in the same community. St. Garrick and Bernard as well. So Gregory and Basil, I could go on, Kelly, but I won't. But I just think how, not only the natural virtues, justice, prudence, temperance, and fortitude, generosity, magnanimity, things are there, but how they become supernaturalized by the grace of the Holy Spirit, and we take it to the new level, that where it's not, what is this person doing to make me feel good, or how they're useful. We think sometimes of friends with benefits, and it has a kind of certain connotation. But I think, even, we can be a little cynical that, what are we getting out of this in that particular way? So, again, it was a great opportunity on this Valentine's Day. So what do you have for us besides, Kelly?
Yeah, well, this is out of Milwaukee, Wisconsin. Speaking of friendships, this is talking about Mount Mary University, how they are making use of their space. This is a retirement community, but they're allowing single mothers. Obviously, a single mother, it's very hard to continue to finish college if you have a child to take care of. So they're opening up their space for them to be part of the community together. So they've added 24 apartments. Single mothers obviously face a lot of obstacles. So this provides an opportunity. So the person said that it seemed like a perfect way to bring the sisters together with a demographic of students that could benefit tremendously from having their support. And I'm sure the sisters appreciate, too, having the lively enthusiasm of the young people in their building.
Yeah, so, the delightful cries of a young child most of the time, right?
Right. Of course, always.
Or maybe sometimes it helps to maybe lose a little bit of one's hearing, later on. But more on that to come here in our closing segment at the end of the show. All right.
We're going to take a quick break. You're listening to Making It Personal with Bishop Joensen on Iowa Catholic Radio and the Spirit Catholic Radio Network.
Hi, this is Father John Ricardo, and I want to thank Caldwell Parish Funeral Home and Crematory for underwriting Christ is the Answer. Losing a loved one, as we know, is never easy, and it can leave you feeling lost and even hopeless at times. But Caldwell Parish helps ease that burden by sincerely caring both about your loss and about your faith. Caldwell Parish Funeral Home and Crematory is Des Moines' only Catholic-owned and operated funeral home. Their number is 515-276-0551 or online at caldwellparish.com.
Thank you, Blessman International, for their support of Iowa Catholic Radio. Everyone lives their life 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, 365 days a year. How we use that time directly affects if our life will leave a significant impact or not. Each year, Blessman International leads Central Iowans on a 12-day, all-inclusive experience sharing the heart of Christ with children in South Africa. Teams are forming to do something significant in an African child's life. Learn more at blessmaninternational.org. That's blessmaninternational.org.
But I just miss you, and I just wish you were a better man. And I know
Welcome back. I'm Kelly Metcher Collins with the Diocese of Des Moines. You're listening to Making It Personal with Bishop Joensen. On today's show, we're talking about next Saturday's Iowa Catholic Men's Conference, which will be held at the Embassy Suites in downtown Des Moines. Our guest today is event coordinator and presenter Joe Stopulos to tell us all about it.
So, Joe, good morning. It's good to have you here, and we've kind of encountered each other at various events in Des Moines and everything else. You were such a gentleman when you took my coat, and I was kind of wondering, who is this guy? Am I ever going to see my coat again? But there it was.
There it was. You got it back. You got it back. Well, thanks for having me on the show.
Yeah,
it's fun to be on this side of the microphone, being interviewed. This is great.
Yeah, so those who've had me as a teacher in a previous life, this will not be an oral test in any way as well. But you're a man, a vocation, not just radio host, but a man of faith, family man, and everything else.
Try to be all those.
Yeah, so how many kids?
I have currently four. Currently four. It seems to be growing every year, which is good. That's a good thing. That's what we want.
Yeah, so this is a mystery, how this happened.
Oh, yeah.
So there's a great openness on your part
very open.
For you and your wife.
Yes.
Yeah, so shout out to her here.
Listen, couldn't do without her, obviously. So she anytime I can talk highly of my wife, I do that, because she couldn't have four kids going well without her, so.
Yeah, do you guys get a date night? It's Valentine's Day.
Yeah,
so
we tend to play it by ear. What do we have tonight? We're doing something. I don't know what it is. We usually do dinner at our house. We usually put the kids down and get the china out and do dinner together. I think we might be a bit booked tonight, but it'll be something very romantic. Trust me. Very, very romantic.
Oh, we won't dispel the secret here. Yeah, and I'm sure you've got this marvelous plan.
I don't want to blow it. It's going to be great.
So you put the kids down, then, hopefully not in the veterinarian sense, but anyway, no. So, dads of young children, men in general in our culture, and I think all of us, with social media and everything else, it seems like we're always on the go. And so this kind of busyness that's here. How would this event for the men's conference, you've kind of taken that into account as you've planned the schedule and everything else?
So what I have found, so I come at this from a few different lights. Obviously, with the show, I'm brought into men's ministry pretty frequently. But then secondly, I love going to these things. I remember the first Iowa Catholic Men's Conference probably 8 years ago. I remember leaving that and coming home and just being so psyched up. At the same time, I also realized that we see the same people there every year, and it's difficult to get new people to come, and a lot of that has to do with just the timing of it. And so we decided this year just to be very strategic in saying, what if we only did 3 hours of actual speakers? What if we made the whole event, including Mass, 4 hours, 4.5 hours, just a morning, to maybe attract guys like myself, who it's difficult to leave our wife and children for a full day and have a better opportunity to invite them in. So yeah, it was definitely a leap of faith. John Leonetti's been helping me. He and I kind of spearheading this thing through a lot of conversations, and he knows of no other organization, no other men's conference that is just a morning. But we've had really good responses from a lot of the guys over the last few weeks on it.
Tremendous, yeah. So you get in, you get out, and you get back to the rest of your vocation.
Hopefully we've planted some seeds in the meantime, right? So that's the goal. Hopefully we've planted enough seeds in those 3 hours, 4 hours to really get guys excited about living their Catholic life.
So I know I had clear instructions either from you or your team. This is a low mass, Bishop Joensen.
It's a low mass. Low mass, Bishop
No lengthy homily, 3 minutes plus or minus. So I got to deliver on that, or you won't invite me back.
Listen,
here.
those were not my rules. I did not say 3-minute homily. You can go as long as you
Spirit
like.
tells me to speak. No, who am I? John Leonetti? No. But so we will honor that. And I think it's beautiful. I love kind of Saturday morning mass. It'll be a beautiful way to start out with the Eucharist. And those who can join us for that.
Absolutely. No. So that was more of a timing issue as well. And selfishly on my end, this being our first crack at the app, don't want to overcomplicate things. And as you know, a mass at a hotel involves a lot of different things, a lot of moving parts. So we thought, what if we just made it very reverent, very tasteful, and just did a nice slow mass with yourself on Saturday morning. So we're looking forward to it.
Well, after my Dowling experience a couple weeks ago, maybe we won't have both species. We'll just go with I can't let that go. I'm sorry. Just teasing. I know that the young man was traumatized. We shall remain nameless. But anyway, so we're working with him on that as well. So, besides you as a kind of marquee personality.
I would not use those words. Your words, not mine.
Okay. The Man Up Radio, Spirit Radio, and everything else. John Leonetti is going to be the MC in there as well. And is he giving a talk also?
So he will give what I would call lengthened MC responsibilities. So we're not going to have him do a formalized talk per se, but as you know, you give John a mic, he can go for a while. So I think that's the goal. Is we'll let John fill in whatever needs to be filled in. So he'll have some time on the mic.
Okay, so if he goes long, I'll hold up a big, silhouette of Theresa, his wife, kind of staring at him, glaring at him in that way. So, good. But we're ramping it up. You've got another big name coming in that gets some of us excited in a particular way.
Yeah, so I know you're an Iowa State fan. So while we agree on our Catholic faith, we might disagree on who we cheer for on Saturdays. That said, I put my faith above my fandom this time, Bishop Joensen. So we were very excited to get Matt Campbell. Matt Campbell, I know, is a devout Catholic. He's also obviously a very motivational speaker and just a great man. And so we were thrilled to get him, which wasn't actually, we didn't think it would happen, but we're glad that he said yes, to say the least. And we've had a lot of excitement around that. So I will be representing the Iowa contingent, I think, during this talk.
Well, he's used to going into hostile territory in Austin, Texas, or wherever it is, Iowa City. So this will be nothing. But and remember, hey, I had Gary Dolphin on in December as well. So,
I heard that.
The Isaiah's prophecy is fulfilled as people, the wolf gets along with the lamb, and all these things that happen in that particular way. But no, you're right. These are passions that we have, but ultimately our passion for Christ and our great love and our desire to lay our lives down for him and to become ever more the disciples that God has called us to be in this particular way. So,
and I think when you're combining the sports piece to it, so obviously he brings this passion for football. And when we had Ricardo here, we talked before the show a little bit. When Ricardo was here, he uses these sports analogies a lot, and sports can point us to higher things. Sports has the ability, and Father John talks about it so often about the stadiums and how that's a vision of heaven. And the great athletes are the Hall of Famers are the saints. And there's a lot of great sports analogies. And also I think of just suffering, how much these athletes put themselves through suffering in order for a higher call. And St. Paul talks so often about this. To have someone like Matt Campbell who can bridge that gap between, I've been successful in sports, I've been in the trenches, but I also know the importance of faith. When you have someone like that, it really helps. It helps to get guys fired up because we can obviously. You see a lot of guys out there who are very quick to spend 6 hours on a Sunday watching football, but might not go to church. This guy's got that balance. I think when we have someone who can talk to both sides of that, football's important, it's great. But what's ultimately important is our faith. That's when we can really have that marriage of having the passion of sports that kind of inherent in a lot of guys, but also the realization that it's not important when it comes to faith.
And speaking as a diehard Cyclone fan, I think Cyclone fans appreciate this is a man who obviously is on the rise. He wants to win ardently, but at the same time, his commitment to the community and to his young men that he's brought into the fold, if you will. And so He's not just, ambitious in that worldly sense. He really, truly wants to form men in that holistic way. And so I think that's great, and that's very compelling for many of us. I mean, I think there were many doors that would open to him already, and he could have said, as some of his predecessors did, leave in the dark watches of the night, leaving the furniture in the house. But I think he and his family and, his 4 children also, so.
Another guy with 4 children. I'm noticing a theme here. Great man, 4 children. Okay,
4 children, yeah. I don't know, yeah. So Jimmy and Julia Becker in Ankeny are probably saying, yes.
All these 4 children
all these
families.
people, so that's tremendous. So, yeah. We wished in my family that we'd only had 4, but then my youngest brother Tom came along, and so what are you going to do? But so we that rounded out the basketball team in that particular way. But anyway, back on track here. So with Matt Campbell, and he's going to be a draw for people across the aisle, if you will, in that particular way. What else is happening in this very intense, compact morning?
Yeah, so there's a lot going on. So obviously, Mass with yourself, Bishop. So thank you for agreeing to do that at 7:30. And then really, depending on the length of the homily, I can't give a full detailed description. But after Mass is concluded,
breakfast is served at 8:10.
Yeah,
right?
so it'll be somewhere in the 8 o'clock hour. There'll be coffee and juice and donuts and whatever else we have served. I'm making a push for granola bars, so those will be there for guys who cannot eat donuts during Exodus 90. And then 9 o'clock, so there will be confessions too during that 8 o'clock hour. There'll be confessions. There'll be confessions all day. We're really timing it out. The confessions, we have more priests available during the break. So between 8 and 9, after Matt Campbell's speech, after my speech, we'll have extra time for confession. So a lot of room for confession there at the 8 o'clock hour. And then Matt Campbell, the whole thing kicks off at 9 a.m. John Leonetti will get us all fired up, and then Matt Campbell will speak after John. Have a break again for more confession time around 10. Then I will deliver a talk, let's call it 10:45. I don't have the exact schedule in front of me, but somewhere in there for probably an hour. And that's going to be a lot more about rediscovering our call to authentic masculinity. I really feel we've lost, and this is mostly stuff I've discovered from the show, just over 5 years of interviews. We've lost a lot of that, the true sense of masculinity, of what our call is as men, as fathers, as brothers. And so how do we rediscover that? What does that look like in today's world? What are some tangible things we can do as men? And so you mentioned at the beginning of the show, silence. How do we find that silence? I'll talk a lot about that. For a guy who talks a lot and has got a radio show, I think silence is really important. But that's part of what we've got to do.
Because there are forces in our culture that kind of want to keep men in a state of suspended adolescence, if you will, right? 100%. To capitalize on that with athletics or things like that. And again, ardent sports fans, but at the same time, there's something greater here that might be there.
Yeah, and that's the whole
gaming, pornography, all of these things,
and they'll all be talked about. Will all be talked about, and I think hopefully with Matt Campbell bringing in people who otherwise might not come to one of these. So there's also another reason we're doing an Embassy Suites. Hopefully there are men out there that, I don't know if I could make it to, Catholic Church maybe is a bit off-putting to step into. Well, this is we purposely did this to get people who maybe otherwise wouldn't come. And then, really, I think it's on me. I've delivered this similar talk a few other times, and I think that's really the message I've got is that we, especially as young fathers, I speak to. I've got a message for every age group, whether you're a teenager, 20-year-old, 30, wherever you're at in life. I've got a message for you, and I'll hit it on it. But I really want. I think we need to have young fathers for the future of the church to step up, to man up, quite frankly. And be the leaders that they're called to be, because that's where you're going to have the next generation of great men. Is if they have great fathers, they'll follow in the footsteps. And so that's what really my call is, a clarion call to get out there and to embrace what God's called you to. Because masculinity is not something to shy away from, but we've got to embrace it and embrace it in a way that makes sense, the way that we're actually supposed to embrace it.
Tremendous. I mean, I think, Paul saying to Timothy, remember, stir into flame that spirit, so that you can be strong, loving, and wise, but that we can blend with that compassion of Christ that he brought, the great mercy that he's there. So obviously on Valentine's Day, couples are, love is in the air and everything else, but how about men who maybe haven't found a life partner, men who maybe feel themselves called to the single vocation, or maybe that's kind of where they are on this pilgrim path? Would they feel welcome here, or is it all going to be talk about how you love your wife? Absolutely not.
Yeah, so there will be parts of all of those things, and I definitely have a call for the men who are single, maybe who have discerned into single life, or maybe who have not gotten married yet. No matter the age, and really, I speak a lot about the virtues and how our lives, regardless of where we're at, but especially when we're in the single life, is to be developing virtues. Temperance, okay, here we go. Fortitude, temperance, justice, and prudence. What those mean, how those are lived out in our lives. And then how does that manifest itself in a good Christian life of masculinity? How are we leading those around us? So, yeah, they're not getting off the hook, Bishop. They're not off the hook.
Okay. And then, once they're present, do you kind of have them? You have their data, their things. Are they going to expect to be followed up on, or can they kind of feel free that any further self-disclosure is free and voluntary? Or
That's a great question. So we are building what I would call a men's movement, and this is the first step of that. So I interviewed the people in Milwaukee, which is really where we're trying to model this after. They have 3,500 men every year attend their conference. It's an 11-hour conference. Starts at 7 in the morning, goes till 6 at night. Every week of the year, they have 50 parishes. They average 50 guys at the parish. Every week, they have 2,500 men a week attending men's ministry. That's what that's what could happen. And so that's what we're looking for. So the call to action will be, we just want your email, we want your name, we want to know where you live, roughly, so parish, and then let us help build this. Let us make that first step to get men back to their call. Because that's, as you know, you can't live on an island. We're not called to live on islands. You need other men in this fight who are dealing with the same things you're dealing with to help strengthen each other. And I'll talk a lot about friendship. Aristotle has a vision of friendship. There's friendships of convenience and friendships of virtue. We need those friendships of virtue, and that's what this is going to help us to develop.
You're singing my song there when you bring in Aristotle and the virtues as well. So, I can do my riff on that, but I'll spare you right now. But no, that's tremendous. And, that, like you say, to have, because and there may be men who they don't even have a parish connection right now. But where can they find a group of men, who are striving for the highest things in this way, consoled that we are flawed sinners, that we need to constantly be reminded God's love is unconditional for us, and that trust that when we open our hearts and our souls, that we are accepted by God and accepted by our brothers in Christ too, and the kind of that strength that comes from that resiliency that we want to have woven into our lives. So, well, it's very exciting. This will be my first one, my inaugural one, as with so many so many things this year. And I'll probably be wearing my red and gold vestment, chasuble, just to make sure. I hope it's a Feast of a Martyr, so I can wear cyclone colors on that day. I'm trying to remember, but tremendous. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much.
We're going to take a quick break.
Impoverished children break everyone's heart, but poverty seems like such a big problem. What can one person do to make a difference? For 17 years, Blessman International's passion has been to connect the resources of our donors with sustainable programs that impact the lives of impoverished children in South Africa. Our donors are feeding thousands of hungry children every week, providing basic water and sanitation for impoverished communities, and sharing the love of God in practical ways every day. Go to www.blessmaninternational.org and make your donation today. Is it time for a new roof? Then it could be time for you to get to know Bell Construction. Bell Construction is a roofing company entering its 30th year of business. They specialize in residential re-roofs, light commercial jobs, and have the experience to meet all of your roofing needs with personal service. With Bell Construction, the owner will come to your home or place of business in person to inspect and ensure the quality of work that you deserve. They pride themselves in working with you on a personal basis and making sure you are satisfied. Bell Construction, 515-963-4494.
And I'll be there, yeah, yeah, yeah. You've got a friend.
Welcome back. I'm Kelly Mesher Collins, the Diocese of Des Moines. It should be a great conference, men's conference.
Sounds excellent. Joe alluded to men who might be doing the Exodus 90, and we know that's kind of a rigorous spiritual, kind of almost boot camp, if you will.
Right.
So there'll be more donuts left for the rest of us, I think. So I'll have to get some more miles in on the exercise bike as well. But really good. So we know we always invite our listeners in Spirit Radio in Omaha and our diocese and even up in Wisconsin to share with us how they experienced Jesus in the past week by texting 515-223-1150 #Bishop. So I'd like to share and maybe take the kind of the remaining portion of this segment, Kelly, because I got a beautiful letter from Mildred Cogdell in Dunlap, Iowa. She's a member of St. Patrick's Parish, and her beautiful handwriting, a handwritten note. That itself is a rare gift. But she shared with me, and Mildred, very transparent. She's 92 years old and still married to her husband, Bob. And she talks about St. Patrick's, where I was out in her neck of the woods. It's clustered with Sacred Heart Woodbine, where I dedicated their new altar, that marvelous ceremony of the anointing of the altar and all that was this past Sunday. Father Joel McNeil, their pastor. But she shares with me an experience, and she had some reflections about being one who's, obviously had a lot of experience. Her 12 years on this earth, but she has some thoughts. She says her hearing's poor. After working over 7 years with a certified audiologist, she can hear well one-to-one, especially with her cell phone with her children. I get nothing from most TV programs. Football, you don't need sound. So I'm beginning to think of my mom, who keeps her. But in church, she says, I get very little from a homily because of my hearing. But she says people are living longer, basically better health. Equipment made it possible to remain in their homes, and she and her husband are graced in that particular way. They try to get out to church, but with the winters in Iowa at St. Patrick's, obviously it's a little bit of a difficulty. So they're watching the Mass on TV in that way. But and how even people in care centers have the opportunity for Mass. So she, in mid-December, she shares with us that she was taken to the hospital, but then into the ER, but then dismissed 2 days later. Her daughter brought the bulletin from the parish, and she was hoping to get to what she thought was going to be the sacrament of anointing, the sacrament of healing on Sunday, December 23rd. And, kind of the way it was posted with their RCIA class that was going on that day in St. Patrick's or in Woodbine. And so it turns out there was a little confusion there. And so she and her husband showed up at 10-1 to an empty church, and then they called Father Joel on his personal phone number. So God bless him for sharing his mobile number. I know most of our priests do that for their people, that constant availability around the clock that they offer. And then there was a bit of confusion as well. And so they headed home, but God bless Father Joel right before Christmas. He came, and they had the sacrament of reconciliation, the sacrament of anointing of the sick, and communion as well. And they just reflected in general about the problems of aging. So I think it was one of those kind of sacred moments where maybe it was, seeming like a gaffe in the scheduling, but it ultimately became a very grace personal moment for them. And so she just, encourages our clergy, my brother priests, to make these opportunities available as well, and how that could be something that would be there. So again, I was really appreciative finally to get out to Woodbine and Dunlap last week. She also gives a little shout-out to her grandson Todd and his family, wife Sabrina, and their 3 little boys who are members of St. Luke's Parish in Ankeny. And so very marvelous. Maybe she said Todd even knows my brother Tom, but Tom's just such an easy target. I'll try to be, it's not Lent yet, but we're getting there, so I'll try to rein myself in that particular way. But so a beautiful reflection. It's not going to set off fireworks, but I think in that subtle way, and we commend so many of our priests who are doing whatever they can to make the sacraments available to our people. Those familiar ways that are there, but meeting us where we are each and every moment and bringing the face of Jesus alive. And so we really appreciate that, Mildred. Thank you. You're a great woman of faith, and I hope you won't judge my handwriting in this way, but thank you for taking the time to compose and share your thoughts.
This has been another edition of Making It Personal with Bishop Joensen.
You can hear Making It Personal with Bishop William Joensen every week on Iowa Catholic Radio and iowacatholicradio.com.